Okay.
So I've been following Science Daily.
Is this on
The
X?
good. No, 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 no. This is a website
Okay.
that you can go and subscribe to their newsletter. Um, because the quest is obviously to find more good news
Yeah.
instead of just kind of like the all the bad stuff and so on. And I must say, it's been a pleasure. I don't get to read the newsletter every single day because the number of newsletters that kind of end up in the. But there's a hell of a lot happening out there. There's a lot of progress being
Yeah.
made on all fronts. You know, um, we just saw last week, obviously, the latest version of ChatGPT
Mm-hmm.
and all the wonderful capabilities, etc., etc. So there's constantly, and I think as these models mature, we are going to see accelerated um, invention, accelerated advances in all other fields or in
Okay.
most other fields. So if you just think about something like, for example, mapping DNA of whatever, it's a pretty long and laborious process, etc. Or it used to be. Now it's become, well, you know, feed it to a machine.
Yeah.
You need compute power, but it is extremely efficient, cost effective, efficient, and much, much quicker to do things like that. So, so that's just on one front. You can think in terms of engineering, in terms of, I don't know, healthcare, in terms of any scientific realm, uh, we should see this acceleration in
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah.
That's quite exciting.
So tell us a bit more. You say it's called Science Daily. How is it
I think,
structured? Does it have like different categories that it teaches you about? And maybe you want to talk about one that stood out for you lately.
yeah, I can do that. So it is called sciencedaily.com. Um, you've got health, tech, environment, society, and then it has a quirky tab as well.
Okay.
So, and you know, really anything you can think of, from people claiming life expectancy will increase by at least 5 years by the year
Is that
2050.
all?
Um, well, I think that is a very, very conservative,
Mm.
because that was my first reaction as well. Is this, wow, is that all? But maybe if we understand that life expectancy has actually come down a little bit over the last 5 or so years in most Western nations,
Yeah.
then it's maybe not a bad thing to say. Okay, cool. Um, and then right down to building a better sarcasm detector. Um,
Some
obviously, a
people
hell of
need
a
that.
lot. Yeah, obviously, a hell of a lot around AI and all the developments and so on that we see there. But one thing that I've been thinking about quite a bit is, um, and this is now, I would say, for the last month or so that I've been thinking about this quite a bit. Since Tesla did a demo of Optimus, the new version of Optimus,
Mm-hmm.
of the
The robot.
humanoid
Yeah.
robot thingy and so on. And people have been
Siri's
fairly,
listening. She heard you talking about robots and she wanted to get involved.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, I've had a number of people express their fears
Yeah.
over, what all the robots, is it? So there's obviously this concern about AGI, And will the machines become smarter, and will they turn us all into paper clips? The famous paperclip example that they always use. But I'm very excited about the progress in humanoids. If you see,
Yeah.
if you think that in 3 to 5 years we'll be able to buy personal robots for, I don't know, roughly the price of a small car,
Mm-hmm.
I think I will definitely invest in one of those.
Yeah.
And as the models and the training of these things improve, the number of use cases, I think, is just too way too much to try and list.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the number one reason you want one? Like, what would you have your robot do?
Well, so something that I've been thinking about in the last couple of days is I've got muscles that I damaged, kind of like in my shoulder. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing a chiropractor. Yeah, get the needles and the so that's like every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm thinking to myself, well, I could probably have my own personal chiropractor that can treat us daily,
Yeah.
in, including. So I think, you know, massage is just not something that I'm really keen on, or particularly find valuable or beneficial and so on. But that would be something
Mm-hmm.
that my personal robot can do. Personal robot can definitely be trained in to fulfill, I think, most of the functions that the chiropractor can.
Mm-hmm.
So, so let's say, for example, I can still see the chiropractor, but maybe once a month,
Mm-hmm.
and that individual can give my robot instructions in
Yeah.
terms of. So, think physiotherapy. There are so many people that actually require physiotherapy or some rehabilitation. They're lazy, they do it incorrectly,
Mm-hmm.
they whatever. So I think it's a phenomenal use case for that. I think in terms of general activities around the house,
Mm-hmm.
because it's never going to get tired. It's never going
Yeah.
to, you know, there's a whole bunch of things that these things will be able to do in the house to make our lives easier. I mean, those are the really obvious ones. But but I definitely think that a research assistant, which they obviously already are,
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a hell of an improvement in terms of um, the data that is available, and then also when we start kind of getting more bodies of data in specific areas and fields that are um, not just dependent or reliant on social media or the big free platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think in terms of education, I mean, just watching the OpenAI demo the other day of Sal Khan and his son attacking an algebra problem
Mm-hmm. I didn't
or
see that.
trigonometry problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's on their website.
Okay.
So education is going to change. We kind of knew that, wow, this thing has got all the potential. But education is going to change much faster, I think, or has the potential to change
Yeah.
much quicker
Yeah.
than anybody anticipated. Bureaucracies and governments will hold us back. I think that there will be a push from parents to get out of that system
Okay.
because it will be so much more efficient, effective, um, much, much, much better use of time. It'll be so much easier to experiment with different modalities, different ways of educating people at different levels. So I think that's extremely exciting. I'm excited about the things that my personal robot will be able to teach me. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are there any cases in which you can think where a personal assistant will be
Chopping onions.
chopping chopping onions? Definitely, definitely.
And probably loading the dishwasher and unloading the dishwasher and loading washing and unloading washing and hanging washing and drying washing.
So all of those things,
Yeah.
your personal assistant will be able to do during the time where you sleep,
Yeah.
where you recharge. Because it's got to be a question of, okay, cool, how much battery, how long does your assistant need to recharge? Or can you put a new battery in or a fresh battery in so that it doesn't have to dock for that time? But other than that, your assistant will be willing and capable to work for 24 hours a day,
Yeah.
which is phenomenal if you think about the productivity gain.
Yeah. And probably also just keeping things from getting overcrowded, or like the things that you forget to throw away, being able to do a cleanup of your cupboards, or the clothes you don't ever wear. Like things
Yes.
like that, just being able to like keep things up to date, current.
So, yeah, can you see that these are really, um, they're not complicated things that we're
Yeah.
talking about,
Yeah.
but it will make a massive, massive difference to your life.
Yeah.
Um, and then, like a whole bunch of these things that a lot of people, I'm sure I can say, use the excuse
Yeah.
of why they don't eat healthier is, oh, I don't have time to
Yeah.
cook, and et cetera, et cetera. Whereas, well, you just decide and you tell your assistant what to cook. Um, so, so I definitely think it'll be a huge improvement.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, there are certain health interventions which we don't necessarily get to because of cost, because of availability, etc., etc. But if your assistant is guided by the necessary professional, they can obviously do a bunch of these things for you
Yeah.
and take care of you.
It'll be interesting. So how far away do you think those personal assistants are from being a
I think
part
the
of our
first,
everyday life?
look, this is obviously not my thinking, but some of the podcasts that I listen to and the experts that weigh in on this, I reckon between 3 and 5 years.
Until it's
Now,
like mainstream, like in many
I,
households, or is that until like the
well, I
richest
wouldn't
of the
say.
rich have them?
Well, I would say where it is, you can buy one for more or less the same price as a small car.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that these things will be, there'll be subscription models. I don't see that, there'll be a subscription model.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't pay, they can switch it off.
Yeah.
You know, there's obviously some of the bigger concerns. I don't think is so much on the hardware because they're making really good progress on the hardware. Um, it is about the privacy
Mm-hmm.
it is the ethics, because obviously every good case that we can think of, somebody can come up with a bad case.
Yeah.
I mean, can I send it around to the neighbors to go and, I don't know, choke the barking whatever dog?
Yeah.
um, so people will definitely come up with a whole bunch of. So it's that thing about, well, we've got to make sure that the safeguards are in place.
Yeah.
I definitely want my privacy to be protected, and all my information, whether it is how many onions did I make my personal assistant chop this week,
Yeah.
right down to kind of like, how what were the medical interventions that my physiotherapist or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those are the things. But I think the technology is really moving so quickly that
Yeah.
it'll become mainstream a lot quicker, and it'll go through the usual adoption curve. Um, but it it actually happens pretty quickly. I can't remember exactly what but if it's affordable enough, I would say adoption between 3 to 5 years from kind of solid models. You'll
Yeah.
first get that first year or two where there will be new models, new models, new models, and every new model will go, I can't believe I actually bought that previous model.
Like cell phones.
But yeah,
Yeah.
exactly like that.
Yeah.
Um, where do you stand on this? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? Do you think we
I'm not sure. I mean, I think it would be great not to have to pack and unpack the dishwasher every day. But yeah, I don't actually know where I stand with it. I haven't got any like huge moral issues or concerns. I don't know.
yeah.
I'm curious to see where it goes. Maybe I'll start putting money aside for my personal robot.
I think it'll become a subscription service,
Yeah.
really, just like a lot of the cell phone providers. Because
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, what are they selling you? They had to make sure that, and it's going to be kind of like the same thing. The
Mm-hmm.
hardware is going to become pretty much fairly cheap, and the value will be in the software,
Yeah.
and in the training, etc., etc. Um, and I think we will get obviously lots of different ones, lots and lots of different ones made specifically for the purpose that they are required.
Yeah.
But um, for the ones that kind of we are interested in, they're going to look like humans. It's really important. It's really important that they kind of function as humans, because
Yeah.
our our homes and everything that we use have been designed
Yeah.
for us, for 10 digits and
Yeah.
kind of walking and sitting and that sort of thing. So, um, anyway, I think that the will also be huge gains and benefits, obviously, for agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you know that, and I'm trying to remember where I heard the statistic, but I heard it on the weekend in a podcast, that we actually produce 3.5 times more calories than the requirement for the number of people on the planet. 3.5 times. So why do we have hunger? So
Yeah.
why do we have, malnutrition, that sort of thing? So obviously the 3.5 that comes
It's
from
not
agriculture
evenly
there, or
distributed.
it's
Yeah.
not evenly distributed, and so on. So think about the advances, that we'll be able to see in agriculture and food production with AI, and the ability to help. I don't want to say genetically modify, because I don't think all of it is genetic
Yeah.
modification, etc. It might be selecting for, etc., etc. It might also be a combination of what AI can do in terms of genetically selecting, etc., etc. How do we make food healthier, etc., etc. I don't know, whatever the. But I think also in terms of the actual production of it,
Mm-hmm.
where we currently have all. Yeah, there are some really fancy pieces of equipment out there, very expensive, and so on. But a lot of agriculture is very dependent on human
Yeah.
labor,
Yeah.
and definitely these machines will also make a huge difference there. From the
Interesting.
basic stuff,
Yeah.
from the basic stuff to the very specialized and
You mean
advanced,
like the soil testing and
all of that,
yeah.
all of that, but right down to the actual picking of the crops.
Mm-hmm.
So there's there's a specific area in Canada where they make ice wine, where the grapes are picked in the middle of the night. Must be so the grapes are actually kind of frozen.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that's not fun for those people who have to go and pick those grapes.
Yeah.
It will be much easier, and therefore, obviously, that wine kind of comes with a premium, etc. So, but also imagine if you have robots rather than humans picking fruit. They can go up and down the orchard as many times as needed.
Yeah.
They don't have to start and strip this tree and move to the next tree, etc. And the same thing with strawberries, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, I think there's massive, massive benefits and advances coming from using machines, robots, um, to help and assist us there.
It's very interesting. Are we planning to pick something from Science Daily for the next few weeks and talk about that?
Sure, we can. We can
I
we
like
can
the
pick
idea of
specific.
the quirky tab.
You like the idea of the quirky tab?
Hmm.
Okay, I'll leave that to you to go and pick something off the quirky tab.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Um,
I'm curious about the life expectancy thing. My grand turned 97 on Thursday.
wow,
So,
that's a
and
that's
her
a
older
nice age.
sister, I think, is 100 this month.
Okay,
Yeah. So
wow.
imagine living 100 years. That's crazy.
I am imagining that, and I'm going to exceed that by quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we've
Because
spoken
remember,
about
I
it
have a
and what that means for retirement or pensions and
yes, yes,
ending work and yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. You can
so,
see why I'm so keen to have a little assistant that can help me with my education, because I have to find
yeah.
another job. So I've got one more question for you,
Hmm.
maybe not related to any. Um, no, there are two people that I've kind of heard use this previously. Two famous people. One is Tim Ferriss, and the other one is Nassim Taleb. The question is what if I could only subtract to solve problems?
As in, what would we remove from our lives?
Correct. Because our default or
Mm.
most of us, our default is if I'm trying to solve a problem, it's by addition.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add more things. If I decide I want to, get fit, I want to go and buy new shoes,
Yeah.
new outfit, join a gym, whatever, sign up for whatever, etc. So it's by adding. And the same thing, with in whatever way. What if we flip that around and say, well, I want to accomplish something, but I'm only allowed to do it by taking away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People who kind of go into the minimalist lifestyle,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like a um, overarching way of implementing something like this. But I quite like the idea of challenging myself to see how can I solve a problem
Yeah.
only by taking away.
Do you have an
I
example of
think
a
in a
problem?
I think in a work, even in a work scenario,
Yeah.
um, how do I improve a process? So I can start by kind of redefining the process. I can start by, and again, this is typically the default is well, let's add a few more steps.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and generally that doesn't improve the process. Because if I look at what can I what can I remove?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, how do I get rid of bottlenecks? How do I empower people
Mm-hmm.
to the correct level? Um, I mean, things like that. If I think, if I think in the simple example of I want to get fit, well, you know what, like I don't have money to spend on new outfits and new running shoes and to join the gym. And
Mm-hmm.
well, what if I start taking away what are the things that I know does not contribute?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And which are the things can I introduce, which I already have in my possession, that will benefit or help me accomplish that goal or solve
Yeah.
that problem? It's almost like the um, classic case of, well, it's dinner time. I didn't have time to go to the shops. What can I make from the leftovers and
Yeah.
whatever is in the fridge? Okay. And that creativity and not about, I don't know, I just find it a very interesting concept and
Yeah.
something that I've also been kind of playing around with in terms of um, from a health perspective. Okay, why is it that I've had this kind of shoulder problem for a month?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, why am I not getting rid of that? What should it be? So instead of adding anything, because I'm not going to take any medication or whatever, what is it that I have to remove?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to stop exercising for a week and give it enough time to rest? I don't know. That's an option. But you see what I mean? It's
Yeah.
by subtracting rather than adding to it. Um, and yeah, trying to look at a um, couple of areas in which I can practice that principle and see if it
Yeah.
holds value.
It's an interesting, it's like changing your mindset and just trying to think about a problem from a different perspective, or it's a good challenge.
Yeah. Can you identify something that you can try that on? Um, you don't have to answer that now,
Yeah.
but maybe just as a little experiment,
Yeah.
think about it and say, well, okay, cool. Mm, rather than adding something, how can I maybe remove something and improve or solve a problem? Anyway,
On that note,
on that note,
we will find something quirky and fun, some science daily quirky item to talk about next week.
excellent.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Herman.
Ali.
Thanks for introducing us to Science Daily.